Hi friends, I'm Liz.
I'm Robby. Welcome back to our channel Bookworm Couple. Today we are going to be talking about not a book. We are going to be talking about the Disney Plus TV series Percy Jackson and the Olympians, which we finally just got a chance to watch just a little bit ago.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I loved it.
Smashed it, great. Crushed it. I literally multiple times whilst watching it was thinking, this is perfect.
It's so good.
This is perfect. And I am very entertained with book to TV, book to movie content because I love to see the world that I have in my head. I like to see someone else's vision for them. It's not always the same. When it is the same, it's very exciting.
Yes.
And so I'm usually entertained by it. But I always have. I am always the one that the book is better. Like pretty much every time the book is better. And not to say that this is better than the book, but man, was it on par with how I felt with the book.
I think that they did a fantastic job of specifically, I mean, it's clearly paying so much homage to the source material. I mean, I know the author Rick Riordan and I believe his wife are both executive producers, so...
It's Rebecca Riordan.
Yes.
I noticed her name and I was like, oh, that's a fun...
Yeah. I'm assuming that's his wife. Could be like his daughter or something, but I don't know. But clearly, you know, that he's involved and that's great, but, the episode titles are chapter names from the book. They pull so many lines directly from the book. A lot of the, and it follows the structure extremely well. Of course, the pacing is extremely accelerated because I believe that I'm assuming, going for the entire first book in this 8-episode season. So, of course, the pacing's going to be very quick.
But I didn't think it was too quick at all.
I thought there were a few moments that it's
glossed
over pretty fast. But for the most part, I mean, I was in it. And also, whenever I go into a adaptation of moving something from a written to a visual medium, you know there's going to be changes, and pacing is going to have to be one of them. I think that they managed to maintain most of the major plot lines in a way that I found extremely satisfying, as well as enhancing some people's stories by adding even tiny scenes like Grover. You got to see him do something specifically that he only talks about in the books, and that's part of what I liked so much. Is I feel like they did justice to every scene that they were pulling directly from the books, which was the vast majority of them, which is
truly
crazy.
I mean, I think that's why I thought it was so perfect the whole time. I was like, like this is exactly what I imagined and better. I think it was a beautiful iteration of this text.
Yeah, but also, like, I think that a lot of the scenes that they added, at least in these first 2 episodes, which I don't know if we've mentioned this yet, but we are covering the first 2 episodes, as those are the only 2 that have been released at this point.
They came out together?
But the scenes that they added that weren't in the book, or little additions that they had, I thought were all very good and justified and important and fit very well. And yeah, I was just, I couldn't be more thrilled with how this is. And also,
it was so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people online agree with this. I mean, most of the reviews I've seen have been resoundingly positive, which is very exciting for any sort of fantasy adaptation. I feel like a lot of some of the more big budget recent fantasy adaptations, not naming any names, but have been at best received in a, shall we say, mixed fashion.
Yeah, sure.
And this seems to be getting somewhat universal acclaim, which I entirely, if you can't tell, entirely agree with, and I think it is extremely well deserved.
Yes, well, and they did such a good job of sticking true to the text, but then also, like you said, adding in things that worked so well, because so often, you see when a favorite fantasy world or book to TV movie adaptation, there's like, okay, cool, this is a new thing, I have this new idea, let's try it differently, which is not bad, but it's really fun to see. I felt I had a blast reading the first book, and I had a blast watching these episodes.
Yes.
Can we talk about casting?
We can.
Perfect.
I don't know, going forward, spoiler warning, if you have not read the series or read the book or seen the series yet, I don't know that anything we're going to talk about isn't pretty much common knowledge, and some of it's just going to be casting stuff, but for the most part, so far there's only 2 episodes out. Go watch them. They're really, really good.
So good.
And then you could come back and watch the video afterwards. Casting.
Anyways, casting, perfect. Sally Jackson.
I love casting.
Love of my life.
Unbelievable. Actually, she deserves to have her name said.
Cry. She was on screen for about 5 minutes, and
Not
I
5
was
minutes.
in tears. Just literally in tears. She is a phenomenal actor. Perfect casting for the role. Absolutely obsessed with her. The little, very small monologue she gives him before he goes off and tells him he's not broken. Oh my God, I was
Yeah.
watching that and thinking, I wish
Yeah.
that I had had this when I was 13, because I felt like I was broken, and I feel like it
Mm-hmm.
was this universal monologue to kids everywhere and young adolescents everywhere of like, just because you feel different, you look different, someone had said something to you, you learn differently, you see things differently, doesn't mean you're broken. And I'm gonna
Yes.
cry again. She had me crying. Just brilliant casting, beautiful casting.
She was absolutely a high point. They had to do so much work with her in a single episode, and she deserves to have her name said because she was so good. Her name's Virginia Cole, the actress who plays her in the show.
I've definitely seen her in other
I
things
recognize
before.
her. I don't know what else I've seen her in, but she was wonderful.
Perfection.
I really think she did a ton of the emotional heavy lifting in the first
the scene
episode.
with her
It
in
was
the
necessary.
rain, sitting in the rain. She
Yeah.
didn't even say anything, and I was like, Sally, I know you.
Yeah,
Sally, I
she's
know
great.
who you are.
She's really,
and
really
and
good.
it is fun as an adult watching it. Obviously, you're watching this kid's journey, and that's really fun for us to watch as well. But then watching these adult characters, specifically Sally, I was like, oh, she's for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is a reference to an adult, going through life, having a tough time, and just she was just beautiful, stunning.
Yeah, she was wonderful. I really. Yeah, she was amazing. She was a huge highlight of the first episode. I
She
think that
made me specifically want an adult romance novel about Sally and Percy's dad. I want a Sally novel.
You could say Poseidon.
I could say Poseidon, you're right. I could say Poseidon. I want an adult romance novel about Sally Jackson.
Yes,
Meeting
she's
Poseidon.
great.
Let's do it. Somebody do it. I'm sure there's fanfic out there.
I'm sure there is. But yeah, she was wonderful. She was a huge highlight, and also, I mean, Percy himself is fantastic. I've seen him in a movie I'm forgetting the name of with Ryan Reynolds on Netflix.
Sure.
That I was very impressed with him as well. So when I heard of the casting, I am so bad. I'm forgetting all of the actors' names.
Okay, this is new series to us.
And so I'm going to look it up. So Walker Scobell, if I may be pronouncing the name wrong, but I thought he was wonderful.
Great, perfect
I'd
Percy.
seen him before in something else, but I think he's perfect Percy. I think he's great.
Yeah.
I also like Grover. I think Grover's funny.
Grover.
I think he's very cute. I think he's very endearing.
Yeah, I thought they did a great job because in the books he comes up very, very silly.
Yeah.
And I thought that they did a great job with the writing and with the acting of he's silly, but he has so much heart.
Yes.
And I feel like it doesn't necessarily translate as much via text, but seeing it on screen, I thought instantly my heart broke for him already.
Yes.
Just thought he was phenomenal.
Yeah, he was great. I mean, I thought Annabeth and Luke and Clarice, I guess, are like probably the four main kid
biggest,
actors
yeah.
that we really got a look at in this, and I thought all of them were fantastic.
Annabeth's the
great.
vibe, I was like, yes.
We didn't
there
get
she
a
is.
ton of her,
No,
really.
but it didn't matter.
What she did, I really liked. I liked Clarice a lot, which is hard with a character that you're supposed to hate. But I thought she did a very good job. I really liked everything they did with her. And speaking of, I liked the action sequences, especially the one at the end of the second episode where he's fighting Clarice and the Ares Cabin kids. I thought it looked great.
Yeah.
The fight choreography was really good.
Excited.
Yeah.
I was excited. And you root for Percy. You
Uh-huh.
see him kind of find his place with the sword, and I thought that was really exciting to live in that moment with him of us being like, oh, he's kind of like intuitively good at this.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And I think that read very well. And I thought it was really beautifully done. I thought it was great. Yeah.
Speaking of things looking very good, you can see where the money went in this
Oh
show.
my gosh,
the
effects were phenomenal.
fantastic. The
Megan
Minotaur-
Mullally in the beginning
Looked
changing
great.
Mrs. Dodds.
Mrs. Dodds.
Transforming she lifts her arm and it becomes
The wing.
I was
It was really cool transition. Yes.
watches a lot of things. I've been an actor. I know what happens. I went like I was not. It was so good.
Yeah.
It was really
I think
good.
the effects in this are fantastic.
Chiron, the centaur,
Yes.
is really, really well done, I
Yes.
think, as well.
Mm-hmm.
Also, great casting.
Also
I'm like,
great casting.
yes, like
He's
he has
wonderful.
like such good teacher, mentor, dad energy. He was really good.
I somehow missed this, but Jason Mantzoukas as Dionysus. I yelled when I saw it.
Yep.
I don't know how I missed that. I love Jason Mantzoukas.
We're big fans of Jason.
And so I was just like, oh, that's perfect. It's so funny. He's so funny.
He is. That is really good casting.
That he's part of it. I know some of the other gods and their casting I won't. But I know some of them, and so like all of the casting of the gods that I am aware of. I'm not sure how I missed that one, but even that one I think is great.
Phenomenal.
I just think that
just his humor alone for Dionysus is perfect.
Yeah. I think that you can just see how much love and time and consideration went into making this. And I think it's apparent in every frame. I think it's very, very good. I struggle to think of things that I could even say that I didn't enjoy. They would have to be so nitpicky. Like the only thing I could partially think of was, I remember Gabe, the actor who played Gabe, who did a fine job. I thought to myself, I always thought of Gabe as more menacing as opposed to comedic, but I also think it works better this way.
I was actually thinking that too.
Really
it's a little softer, yes.
It would be so dark if they were going full abusive husband mode, which is what he was.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't know that that's necessary for
I actually
the
had
show.
that same thought because I was like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing. He's like a wiener.
Yeah.
And I think they're kind of giving you also like, if you've read the books, you know this guy is a real bad character.
Yeah.
And you can definitely get that vibe, but it is a little bit lighter, which is nice, you know? And I think the thing about these books and the show did really well of like, it is light, but it's also heavy. Like Percy stabs a minotaur in the head with his own horn. Like that is not children.
It was a striking image. Yeah.
It was, but that's what happens. So I'm glad that is part of it, and also giving teenagers, preteens the, you know, respect of like you're a viewer who you can handle this. Like you probably are having, you know, these sort of journeys in your head. So to see this played out in a way that was realistic, I suppose.
Yeah.
In World of Gods.
And I also liked specifically with that Gabe stuff and the few interactions we had with him, they allowed Sally to be in more of a position of power, which I think was a smart move.
Yeah.
Especially because she's a lot of the emotional crux of this season of the show, giving her that agency where she yells back at him.
Yes,
I thought, I was like, this is good. If you're
at the
gonna
end of the
change
day,
it's good.
Sally's a mama bear.
Yeah.
And that's what she is, and that's why we love her. That's, you know, from the beginning. But she also trusts Percy, and to see her in a position of power herself, like someone like that is going to give the trust to their child as well. Loved her.
Yeah, loved her.
Can we talk about Sally enough? She's the best.
I could keep talking about Sally, but I do think we need to cover other things. Camp Half-Blood looked awesome. I thought it was really cool. It was beautiful. I thought that the cabins looked very cool. They were much bigger than I imagined them in my mind.
It's pretty similar to how I imagined them.
But they look great. I liked the interiors as well. And, you know, going back to some of the younger actors, I liked Luke a lot. I appreciated, without going into spoilers for what's going to happen later in the book or anything else, but I appreciated how much work they did with him in these first 2 episodes, a bit more focused on him than they did in the books. I felt. I feel like he took a part of the place that Annabeth took of introducing Percy to camp, and I think it was a smart move.
It makes him come off very charismatic, and you love him instantly.
Yeah, and also it makes sense because of, you know who the crew is going to be going forward. You know who the 3 main characters are. I don't really consider that a spoiler because even in the press tour for this, you would know. Annabeth, Grover, and Percy are going to be the main 3 characters, and so it makes sense because you can infer from that Luke is probably not always going to be one of the main guys, and so, but he's a very important character, and so I appreciate that they made that change from the book. I think it works. I think it's good to give Luke more face time so we have a connection with him because he's a very important character.
Well, and I think it's similar to, like you said, of a lot of those off-page things. Like Percy definitely has a lot of off-page time with Luke. Like he trains with Luke a lot, but we don't get a lot of that. And so I think to have that, you know, placed in here is nice because you grow with that character. You kind of have the relationship that you get to create your own relationship like Percy does with this character because you're getting to know him right away and it's on screen for you to watch. His casting was great.
I think he's great. Yeah, I think that they've done a great job with every casting.
Really?
Yeah. I will say, you know, I think that Camp Half-Blood is great, but, you know, like we said earlier in the video, the pacing is pretty aggressive. And so he's really spent, like, they're going to, I'm assuming, be leaving Camp Half-Blood in the next episode just based on...
Potentially.
Yeah, which I'm just like, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Because they were, but, you know, a lot of stuff happens in the book.
It really does.
So I understand, you know, why they made that choice. And I think that they've made it all work, but the pacing is fast and furious for these first 2 episodes. So
yeah, but I think it worked.
I agree.
I didn't feel too exhausted by it.
No,
I felt excited, very excited.
Yeah, I think it's all very good. I think that the main cast is great. I think it's exciting that they are. I'm excited to see them grow and change with these characters in what I hope is going to be at least a 5-season series.
Yeah.
Because that's how many books there are, and you know, based on some of the little things that they've dropped already, I'm like, okay, well, that's a reference to something
Yeah.
that's going to happen
100%.
later in a future book. So I'm hoping that means that they are. I don't know what the status of this series is, renew-wise or anything like that, but I'm hoping that they're planning to do all 5 of these books, and maybe even the books after that, because there's more.
I think, like you said, they obviously invested so much money, time, love into it already, and I think they created a beautiful world. Like, watching it, I'm enjoying it as an adult, but I'm thinking of all of these young kids who will watch the screen and see someone who looks like them be a demigod, and it's just they have such a powerful little space here to create this, and that's what those books are too. I think they're like, seeing yourself as a hero, the demigods, and all the little bits and pieces in the real world that make them not fit in and feel more broken. And I think this is just such a beautiful opportunity to give so many young people power, literally power, like demigod, like any of these kids are powerful, and they're kids, they're teenagers again. So it's like, in that space in your life, I feel like that's when you need to see that, like, the power is in your own hands. You have power, and then creating community with this Camp Half-Blood and all their friends. I could talk about, I just think it is such a great, and bringing in history with it too, history and mythology and all of those things. It's such a great little world for young people to have the opportunity to see. And so I hope that it continues more, because I think it could be such a beautiful, inspiring space for so many.
I agree. I if you can't tell, we're both, obsessed. I think I can say very, very excited. I really couldn't be more thrilled with this. It feels so nice to be able to just wholeheartedly say, I really love this series without having to add a but, which I'm so used to when it comes to basically every fantasy adaptation I can think of, in recent memory, except for, like, maybe, Game of Thrones. So I'm really, really happy. And also, one last shout out to whoever the artists were in the credits sequence. Wow, it's stunning. Really, really fantastic.
It does a really good job of incorporating Art Deco style, which is very old New York, which is obviously
like Empire State Building.
Yeah, Empire State Building takes place in New York, with then also kind of like sketchy mythology art. It's a beautiful combination.
Really, really beautiful, stunning stuff.
Yeah, I want a poster.
All right, well, any final thoughts?
Loved it.
Loved
Period. End of story.
Could not recommend it more. If you've made it this far into the video and you haven't watched it yet,
please
go watch it right after you finish this. It is so unbelievably good. I am so excited for what the rest of the season is going to give us, and I think that we're in for a very exciting time and a very exciting ride.
I'm thrilled.
All right, well, thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff if you want to see more of our videos. We're going to be releasing probably weekly videos with the going forward with just one episode, since I think the episode release schedule is just one episode a week now. They did a 2-episode premiere, and now it's going to just be one. So you can look out for those going forward.
If you like Percy and want to talk about Percy.
And if you like Percy and want to talk about Percy, we also are doing a read-through of the Percy Jackson and the Olympians book series together. So we are also releasing videos about that. So thank you so much.
What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive. So thank you so much for watching, and
we'll see you on our next adventure.